the actual how this per capita trip rates, how everyone is moving, something we call as mode. So we look into what is the difference is there between the overall PCTR and the motorized PCTR. If the difference is higher, then that sector is having more and more walk share. If the difference is lower, then we have more and more dependency on the private vehicles. And then we look into what is the size of NMT we are looking in this case area, then almost 32% compress of walking and cycling is the choice is there in these sectors. And with that we look into what kind of trip purpose these people are doing. So within active transport we look into for work purpose, more of cycling is largely being used than the walking. But if it is shopping and education trips, then more of walking trips are coming up than the cycling trips. The interesting part which you can see on the TLFD graph, where you can see almost on the range of a active transport trip is less than 3 kilometers in general. So within 3 kilometers also you can see the share of private transport is higher than comparing to the active transport, which also says the trip lengths are lesser, still people are not using the active transport as a commuting mode and on the private transport. So this might be their socio-economic conditions, or this might be the built environment conditions based on the availability of the infrastructure. So then we looked into what kind of infrastructure is really available in these sectors, the kind of then your choice will also lose towards the active transport. So then we looked into the what kind of average per capita income is there and how each sector proximity is there to the facilities. In this we have taken residential areas as a cluster, and we looked into how far the commercial, shopping and the education areas are there. Then we find out what is the average value of all these facilities, which compress we are taking as proximity to facilities. So if the proximity facilities are higher, then your choice towards the active transport would be lower. If the proximity is lesser, which means all the facilities are nearby, then the choice towards walking and cycling would be higher. Then we made an attempt to understand how this relationship between these two parameters, basically the active travel and the socio-economic and the built environment is affecting. Then we looked into how the first thought we had on whether the centeredness, the proximity to facilities will affect on the active transport. Yes, if the active want usage higher, then you should have to put your facilities nearby. So something in this first graph you can see as your proximity is increasing, your distance are increasing to the facilities, then your active transport share will be declining. In the similar way, we will look into how this will also affect the ATLs. So if the ATL is increasing, choice towards the motorized is increasing, and choice towards the active transport is decreasing. So the facilities, allocating of the facilities, locating the facilities is more important in the choice of the walking and the cycling. And then the other we also look into how this entropy index will also plays a role. As entropy index is going to the lower side, then you will have a lower into the motorized demand, because you have more active transport demands. Then we looked into the quality of networks, what is the role of the footpath networks in the active transport share, which also says if you going beyond 10 kilometers per square kilometer as footpath density in a sector, then you can see an exponential way of increasing in the choice of active transport. But if it is less than that, it will have an increase, but it will be a marginal increase. So something we identified, we should have at least 10 kilometers per square kilometer of footpath density in a sector if you want to promote more of walking and cycling in a sector. Then we looked into what kind of areas which are neglected in the design part. So we looked into the how the cab heights, or how the refugee areas, how the intersection crossing facilities which are lacking at the design level, that we looked into. And then we looked into the concept level of what are the challenges which making the users not to choose the active transport. So something looking into where we are always wanted to have 1.8 as the minimum footpath width is given in IRC, but everywhere we say 1.8 should be given, which is resulting in the crowded footpaths, crowded footways, so which also decrease the choice of the users towards the active transport. Similarly, we looked into the maintenance, how maintenance should be also there, and at the intersections, and you should have a city level networks. So we're looking into these all challenges and the design elements. We had a level of consideration, what should we have to include in the active transport in a way so that your average trip length will decrease, your proximity will decrease, so that you can have more and more facilities nearby, then your choice towards those systems of active transport would decrease because of the decrease in the ATLs, and then we should have more densified, so that we will also look into the options of transit-oriented developments. And then the major part of the design, we also have to look for the complete streets. After this, we will also broadly understand these things. Then we also looked into the concepts. So one of the concepts we had as the 5Cs concept, where we have to look for the connected, and convenient. These heights should be maintained. And apart from that, we also looked into these